Welcome to the second episode of the Surge Soundbooth podcast, recorded at the Surge Alumni Convening in Scottsdale, Arizona in May of 2025. In this powerful conversation, we're joined by Dr. Dujuan E. Smith of the University of Chicago and member of the very first Surge cohort, Chi 15. Alongside him is Michael Johns of the Community Colleges of Chicago and Surge Chi 16 alum. Also joining in this conversation is Joseph Williams, principal of Legal Prep Academy and Surge Chi 24 alum. Now, what's interesting about this particular episode is I had left a small block of time open just in case somebody felt inspired or if there were some folks that I personally wanted to grab to extend a conversation with over the course of the weekend. And so, but nobody else knew that but me. And so Dr. Dujuan Smith, affectionately known as Dr. Du, sent me a message, saw me actually in the hallway and pulled me aside and said, hey man, if possible, I'd like to get a session. And so I was like, oh, you know what? I got a spot. And then he kind of told me like, I was like, you got other people? He was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, cool, man. I was like, y'all know what y'all want to chop it up about? He's like, yeah. Like just very confidently clear that this is good. So I was like, oh, this is great. All I got to do is press record. Wonderful. You'll hear that may not exactly have been 100% true. However, in this conversation, they explore these complexities of identity, brotherhood, and the purpose for Black men in education. The dialogue centers on healing, relational leadership, and community activation. It highlights how we as Black men navigate systemic barriers while building sustainable liberatory practices. And at the heart of it all is a commitment to authenticity and care. What was really fascinating about this conversation for me personally is that it was 3 other Black male educators in the city of Chicago that I had, prior to that moment, not known personally. And so to be able to have this conversation and then return to our home city where we are all entrenched in this work, and to know that there are 3 more people that I'm connected to that I can lean on and vice versa, to strengthen our work as Black male educators in Chicago, was really just one of the highlights of the convening weekend for me. So without any further ado, let's get to the conversation. Welcome to the convening sound booth. Thank you, brothers, for pulling up. My favorite style is when people get inspired to have a conversation. I don't necessarily have to schedule it. I don't necessarily have to ask. Like the fact that you tapped me and was like, hey man, you got a slot open? So I'm already excited. I have no idea what y'all about to talk about. What we about to talk about?
Don't either. I don't think we do either.
I definitely was under the impression this was a formal.
No.
Okay.
No. This is just a wonderful opportunity to lean into discomfort, something different, and really speaking to, I don't know, just the totality of not just the experiences that I think we've had while we've kind of traveled here together in this experience, but also just having known each other for, 10 plus years, my God. Okay. And just thinking about who we are now, who we were then, what this trip would have looked like then, and what this trip looks like now, and the thoughts around that, and maybe that's just what's coming up for me in the moment, but
hey, that works. Yeah, let's keep going with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that just kicked us off. That just framed the conversation. So we're gonna talk about that. So first, you're gonna introduce obviously how you all know each other, because I don't know, but I love that. I love this concept of what it looked like at the beginning, or what it looks like now. And I'm going to call into the space of the conversation something that Carmita said earlier that really jumped off the page for me ASAP was 2 things. One, she talked about this idea that we're not asking politely for space. Mm-hmm. That's not why we're here. We're not here to be like, okay, listen, we're a group of folks trying to do some things. Can we please have a little corner? She's like, we're here to take shit over. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That jumped off the plane for me, right? Because that's the energy I carry. And then the second piece that she mentioned that I think is more along the lines of what you said is this concept of when you're thinking about certain things, when things are coming to you, which ancestor's voice do you hear in your head? And it makes me think about what you said, because that had to be something you had in your head, at the beginning, right? At the earlier iterations of this, or even before you met. And is it that same ancestor's voice? Or if you had to reply to what that ancestor said back then, what would that answer look like? So yeah, we can go around the room first with introductions. I am Makinde Adedapo, Development Associate at It Takes a Village Family of Schools, also founder of Collective Genius LLC, which is just a consulting company for education and entertainment. And I'll pass it to you.
Absolutely. My name is Dujuan, but you can also call me Dr. Du. And I am. It feels really good for me. And it actually feels really liberating because so much in my life I have defined myself by titles, things that I do, but not really who I am. And so when I say I am, it allows me an opportunity to just surrender to this moment right now. And whatever comes forth is what I give myself permission to just exist as.
Come on, man. How we going to come after that?
Easy, bro. Because you are sitting center stage.
Right.
I'm Michael Johns. You can call me Bowley from Chicago. I work in higher ed at Truman College.
All right. I'm Joseph Williams. I am the principal of Legal Prep Charter Academy in Chicago on the West Side.
Pew, pew, pew.
Yeah. Meow, 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 meow. Singer, songwriter, musician. Yeah, a lot of different things that are still developing. So
That's really dope. Just really quick connection. When Legal Charter started, I was like, I wanted to be a lawyer for a long time. And I was like, what's the best way to get involved in teaching kids this without going to law school? And so when the school opened, I was like, I'm going to go work there.
we need you. So you're still
Hey, my classroom days might be cooked, man. I ain't going to lie.
We got a spot for you, waiting for you right now.
We can talk about some mentorship programming or something like that, but I think my classroom days is cooked.
Yeah, let's not forget that. I'm serious.
It's recorded. Again, that's the whole point.
Say,
the whole point is this is to keep people on what they say they're going to do. You know what I'm
It
saying?
sounds like they may be an intersection of collective genius here.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love that. So you mentioned you all know each other 10 years. Who wants to tell me how you all met?
So we're all fraternity brothers. So
Okay.
Dujuan and I go back 20 years now. Yeah.
Yeah.
20 years now. And then Joseph is our chapter brother. We go back about 10 years. When did you
12.
What school was it?
2012.
Northern Illinois University. So we're members of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And we're initiated through the Epsilon Phi chapter at NIU. So yeah, so that's our journey. We're rooted in that. And so we share this brotherhood outside of Surge that has been very impactful in our lives, right? And so we have reflective moments outside of these spaces, but I think it also allows for us to develop in these spaces more intentionally because of that. So
Did you collectively come to Surge, or is it like one at a time, kind of you brought the other brother in?
Yeah, no, it truly is like a each one reach one kind of an experience. Like I first got connected to Surge through the founding cohort. And as soon as we were talking about the prospect of having another cohort, like I instantly thought about Bowley and was like, I think this will be really good. And so we kind of navigated in the Surge space in its infancy phases and have remained really committed. And then now a couple of years ago now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, I knew Surge had taken over the Black Principal
Network.
Mm-hmm. And I saw the announcement and instantly like made the connection of Joe being a principal. I don't think you were a principal at that time.
No, but I actually was just the head dean.
Yes, you were the head dean at the time, but like shortly after he ascended into principalship.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it'd be a great opportunity. So I introduced the concept, you know, because for Joe, you don't know if, you know, how far you can't sell it too much because it is like, oh, it's too good to be true. I'm not doing it.
Sounds like me, man.
Yeah,
I'm like the heavier you get on the smiles and it's going to be great, the more I'm moving away from the situation because it can't be that great. It just can't be moved like
Absolutely. That is definitely me.
I'm going to find out. He's going to be a Capricorn at the end of this, right?
No, I'm a Scorpio.
I don't know nothing about that.
You said I don't know nothing about that.
Yeah, he introduced it to me, and I'll go back a little bit. They talked about us being fraternity brothers. I think that's how we got connected. I don't think that's why we stayed connected. Right. I think that you can take fraternity off of it. These are my brothers, right?
Yeah.
Like they've helped me grow, shown me a lot of different things, and they're still showing me different things. And so one of the things that they've helped me work on is just saying yes. Like diving into different things that can grow you. and not being afraid of growth. And so normally if he presents something, I'm like, I don't know, let me do my research.
Right.
But he introduced this to me, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it. I didn't know much about Surge. I just knew that they were a part of it. This is something that they go to every other year. I was like, I'm just going to do it. Like, I'm going to dive into it. And if it suck, it suck. But if it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, seriously.
I mean, that's
like,
basically how you walked in the room about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah,
I have no idea
I don't know what this is.
Like,
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
So clearly we're still on the same.
We're still on the same
I love
journey.
that. I love the fact that you can play and stay in the role that you got admitted to.
bro.
I love that.
So I was like, okay, I'll do it. And it's actually been a really good decision.
That's dope.
I wasn't gonna come here, but
Yeah.
but yeah, it was like, yeah, are you going to this? Yeah, I'm gonna show up. So it's been dope.
It gives me a different question, actually. And again, as I'm learning as we talk, we are all men in education space, which is dominated by women, and not in a bad way dominated, but just like that's the percentages, that's the history, right? For me, right, I'm in the Chi 25, like we haven't graduated technically, but there was an intentionality, it seems like now and for this next year to kind of like recruit more men, right?
Yeah.
So I initially got like introduced through Andrea years ago when she was still in Chicago. She was basically having a party, a going away party at a local bar that we all kind of hang out at. And I just rolled in and I was like, what's all these Black people in here doing? And she told me, I know her husband pretty well. And so she mentioned it, and I'm not gonna front. I immediately was like, yeah, that sounds cool. I'm good. I don't need all that. Right. I got this.
I don't need another thing.
Yeah, I got this. Like, I'm already doing this. By the time y'all tell me how to do it, I'm gonna be, I'm good. So years go by. Yurik becomes ED. We have a college friend, mutual friend. She's like, yo, are you going to this intro session? And I'm like, but the difference was it was right down the block. And I was like, you know what, man, I might as well just pull up on these free drinks at the very least. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep it 100, bro. Like, at the 100 is after work, it's 5, 6 o'clock. I'm like, I know who's going to be there. It's at my homie's spot. Like, this is nothing. I'm going to go grab these drinks. When I walked in that room, I saw Terrence Pruitt, who is the way you all describe how you all met and locked in, like became my brother instantly. Again, I mentioned I knew Yurik, but I hadn't actually seen him. We weren't in the same social circles in that way. So fast forward to now, what I'm trying to get at is that this intentionality around the conversations that we have about being Black men in education, and what are those implications, 10 years from now, right? Because as I even just mentioned jokingly, I say I'm cooked on the classroom. Yeah. Because the amount of emotional labor that you have to have in that space consistently, it really does weigh you down, right? And I needed something else. And so maybe I'm not done, but I'm just wondering, what do you all feel in general about like where we are now in the space with education and particularly Black men, honestly, like to be super specific. And what does that look like 10 years from now?
Well, I know in higher ed, it's far and few between the same way as in K through 12. And so I think one of the challenges we face is as you try to recruit men to be in this space, is to be in all things to everybody, right? So you show up as a Black male, so you have to be this, that, and the other. You're automatically the guru on getting all these Black men or men of color to be a part of something. So I think a lot of it is just really how we reshape how we show up in these spaces, reframe the expectation of us. And I don't mean that in a space of like we have to pull back or diminish anything. We have to be cognizant of like how we show up and what we want our narrative to be. And if we do that in a positive way, I think that then helps us recruit more people. Because right now, when I talk to other Black men, they're like, man, I can't do that. Like, it's too much. Like, they ask me to do too many things, right? And so instead of them leaning in and say, okay, I can't do all those things. I can do a few things really well or a lot of things barely. And instead of saying like, hey, let's step back and do a lot of things. I mean, a few things great. And then we can incorporate more people into that. We're just going to keep spreading ourselves too thin. We're going to slowly phase ourselves out of it. Because honestly, myself too, I'm in higher ed and be like, man, I don't know about this. Like, it is too much. It's too much bureaucracy. There's all this and that and the other. And it's like, man, I get tired. Like, I just want to show up and do good work and have an impact and not deal with all the mess. But I also know that that's not my choice, though. I have to show up and do that because I need to bring others behind me and show them how to navigate the space. And I have a positive intentionality of how they're moving and shifting in the space. So hopefully it's great. But just looking at the demographics of just men of color in general, we don't have a lot of us. So it's slim pickings to start with. And so creating that pipeline to teachers or administrators and things like that, we're battling a lot of different things.
You know, I think I'm going to approach this in two different paths. So I think the first path is that, to answer the spirit of your question in a moment, I think we actually are in one of the most exciting places and spaces for Black men in particular than I think we have been in a very long time. You know, this is really the first time, I'm just thinking in a 2025 context, that all I hear and see is a lot around Black men healing, Black men speaking, reflecting on the ways that in previous generations that wasn't allowed, or that just wasn't the way. And in a lot of ways, I really do see us kind of being, if we give ourselves the gift, like leaders of this new school. And so I see it in a very optimistic perspective. Do I think everybody will buy into it? No. There are well-documented studies, and if I'm honest with you, they always make me sad around like men 30 and older being the saddest and loneliest that they've ever been. Not having many outlets, not having community, not even knowing how to really bind into the mantra of no new friends, from a person that lost all of his old friends and can't get new ones. Okay. Sorry, Drake, don't diss me on a future song, but I just, not like a future song, but like, because that's not an option either. But just, you get what I mean. Back to Black men. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, no. You are a Black man too.
Back to back.
Man, okay. This is just going all wrong. I'm glad this won't live in the world.
Or maybe it will.
Right. Or maybe it will, and I said what I said.
Right.
But ultimately, what I mean is that, like, sometimes we let our own shit stop us from, like, leaning into our own gifts. And sometimes those gifts really come in the form of another brother in ways that you have no idea would actually rock you. Like, Joe said something so necessary and profound as he reframed not just the fraternity piece, but the brother piece, because I think that's one of those kind of illusions that exist when you think about fraternities, that, they give you access to brotherhood, but
it's automatic. Like, just the fact that we wearing the same jacket, we locked in.
We automatically get the same jacket, right? Like, but we don't actually, like, it's the brotherhood that's earned. And that's not always easy, right? Because you are you, they are them. And that means there are tough moments. There are hard conversations, but there are also like beautiful celebrations. So I love moments where I've been held accountable by both of them when I wasn't expecting it, but I needed it. And I also think about, I defended my dissertation in the heart of the pandemic, October 2020. And in my mind, I was just focused on like doing the thing on Zoom. And I know we were all kind of at a place where we were like connecting, but not connecting. And like, they all just, after my defense, they all just showed up at my house. Like, you can tell people had talked about it. And like, I was the only one who didn't know. And I was very exhausted, and we celebrated, so I didn't last very long at that party.
I got the pictures to prove it.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Your true brother will make sure there's evidence.
But like, this October, that'll be 5 years since I defended. And one of the things,
I feel like it's been that long.
Crazy work, bro. What stays with me is that moment. There was this one moment before I went to sleep. Putting it politely. There's this moment before I went to sleep, like I remember just looking around and watching everybody and feeling so loved, because it was really just my brothers, not fraternity brothers, but like people. And so I always feel really thankful when I see narratives that talk about like Black men not having spaces to really just be. I'm very fortunate. That's not my life. Wow. Like I'm always in deep counsel and deep brotherhood and deep love of other men. And those are some of my favorite connections, because, man, I learned iron really does sharpen iron.
That's dope, man. That's really dope. Anything to contribute? I want to push you into answering the question you don't want to answer. You know what I'm saying?
I think for me, when you originally asked the question, the first thing I thought about, because I'm very intentional about trying to hire Black men in my school, we got a lot of Black men that are willing to do the work. We don't know how. We don't know how. I think we understand at our age, we understand we are powerful. We value our authenticity. We don't know how to let our authenticity evolve, right? And so the thing that I struggle with the most in my school is when I'm hiring these Black men from the west side of Chicago. They're from that neighborhood. I want them to be there because they can relate to the kids the most. They have this mindset of, or we have this mindset of, we keeping it real. But every day there's a new reality. And we don't cling to that, right? We stick to what real was to us when we was in high school or when we were in college. And sometimes, most times, we're doing a disservice to the youth because while we are relating to them, we're not showing them the work that we're putting in to evolve and get ourselves out of this, whatever the situation may be, right? And so I think that we just got to do a better job of hosting these spaces and having accountability to say, hey, you can still be you and evolve, right? You can still be authentic and evolve. And while you're doing that, you show this kid, I understand why you are where you are. Let me help you evolve as well.
Yeah, I feel that, man. I was going to get to the Chicago piece because we are all from Chicago. And obviously that's, something else that was said this morning that jumped off the map for me was narrative power. I think it was the moderator that brought up, right? That's a real thing. And we all obviously know the narrative power of what they talk about Chicago is winning consistently, right? I don't think there's enough of these that we could even do physically to try and keep up with how many narratives are out there that follow that. So within that, I guess what I'm thinking is, I think the meeting people where they are conversation, people say that a lot, right? Like meet them where they are. And sometimes it's really hard to do that, right? You're the principal. And so if new teacher, off of Laramie pulls up and new teacher pops off in a class, right?
And they will.
Right? You have a dual responsibility, right? So yeah, you can approach them like you want to meet them where they are, but there's also a very clear set of expectations that you have to create and maintain for everybody else in that context, right? So I bring that up to also say that how do you brought up this concept? There's not enough of us, right? Like even if you factor in the prison industrial complex, you factor in the fact that there's high value jobs out here that brothers want to get so that they can, feel that they are getting their worth, so to speak, right? You factor in all these things that can be barriers to men getting into the profession outright, but then you also just don't have enough to combat to support it, right? When I think about it, it was Pruitt that kind of checked me. He was, y'all know how big this dude is. He's like, if y'all don't know who Pruitt is, he's like 6'5", right? Like he's big dude, and he walks with all of that. And so you see him coming down the hallway, and back then he had these luxurious locks that he got right now. Back then he had the full fro picked out, like he was, stomping through the hallway. Every kid thought they were supposed to be scared of him because he was the dean.
Yeah.
Right? Every kid thought that they were supposed to be, that was his whole purpose in that building. And let him tell it, that might have been exactly why they brought him. When it came time for detention after school or whatever the case may be, it happened to be hosted in my classroom. So he comes in, all these kids come in. I'm like, let me get up out of here because these are the same shorties that I sent to detention. So I ain't in here for that. I'm out.
Yeah.
He walks in, they sit down. All of a sudden, I see these kids unrolling chessboards. And I was like, yo, what's that? Like, I thought this was detention, B.
Right.
And he's like, sis, yeah, like, we finna strategize. And I'm sitting like, now I got to stay and see how this going to play out. Because this is the same shorty who I asked 2 questions and he told me a whole bunch of words I won't say in this context, right?
Yeah.
But that's just me and him in that building, right? And so we're balancing that for all of them young brothers as much as we can, right? So I'm trying to get to the question, but the question is more so in Chicago specifically, we can't change the culture. We can't change the West Side. We just can't. We can't change how it's been set up, how the segregation is developed. We can't change how the political machine activates and operates. If we can change it, it's going to be so incremental that we're talking hundreds of years or 100 years from now before we see what we want to see. What is the entry point though? What is that? What does that look like for four brothers who I've never met y'all, but y'all know each other. But if we were all four strangers, what does that look like? How does that work? What's the activation to be like, yo, we all on the same thing. We got the same mission. How do we start today is what I'm trying to get to. And maybe there's no obvious answer to that question, but I'm just thinking, what are ideas around that?
But I think it's still rooted in what Dude was saying around this piece of community. So whether you're for whatever it is, we share, an identity together, right? And so we lean into that. Because again, you will walk around spaces and walk by a Black man and won't say what's up.
Especially in Chicago,
right?
It's almost like a safety clause, right? Like the minute I say what's up, that's like an invitation that I want to beef with you. Right. And so we have to be in a space where we're comfortable with just having dialogue or just saying what's up. I think that starts a lot of things. I like that. The What's Up campaign.
Yeah. You just say, hey, hi, how you doing? Right. And then once you break past that barrier, then you can start to build community with that, right? You can talk about like, how are you doing? I just had an experience a few weeks ago at another conference where some sister colleges, deans, and vice presidents just rolled up on me. It was like, hey, Bowley, how you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm good at this. Like, no. Like, how you doing? You're a Black male as an administrator at a school on the north side. The dynamic's a little different over there than where you were. How are you? And so then a VP asked me that, and then as I was having a conversation with him, a dean from another college rolled up and said, hey, how you doing? And he was like, see, we know what time it is already, right? So we want to make sure that you feel supported in your role as an administrator while you're navigating a new space, right? And so we can't get there if we don't have a conversation to have community to say, we need to build, right? And so if we create spaces like this to have the dialogue, the conversation, for us to be comfortable with each other, I think then we can do much more work and then much more connecting. There's enough things out here in the world for us all to do, even if we have the same idea. And so there's students on the west side, east side, north side, whatever. We're not going to capture all the students with 4 or 5 ideas, right? So why not build community to kind of figure this out while we navigate this space? You can bring more people in that way. And then we can help navigate them to schools and then possibly help them train and understand the concepts of what you should be doing and how you should navigate in this space. A lot of times people just don't know. So we can't expect them to do something they don't know. They can show up and fail, or we can show up and say, oh, you did that wrong. Let me pull you in, let me holler at you real quick, man. Let me help you navigate this a little better than what you're doing, so you can learn from. And so the next time you don't bump your head again, right? So.
Yeah, I would say that, you got to lead with relationships. Like, lead with relationships. People are more willing to follow and be in alignment when they know that you have pure intentions, or they know that your intentions align with what they're trying to do as well. Rules without relationships are not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. Structure without relationship is not sustainable. You may have a great plan, but eventually somebody is going to falter, right? Somebody is going to deviate because they don't trust you, or you got people, crabs in the barrel syndrome, that's trying to pull away and build their own, and so you have to his point, that community, to your point, build community first, and then you start to, get action behind that. Because once we see that we're in alignment, again, when you start to do and you start to move, there's gonna be conflict. There are gonna be situations where y'all not gonna see eye to eye. But when you have that foundation of relationship and partnership and family, it's like, okay, let's recenter ourselves so we can get back to our common goal.
It's like the conflict doesn't change who we are. The conflict is just a momentary opportunity for us to figure more out.
Absolutely.
Like, this doesn't have to result in a win-lose, right?
Absolutely. And when you don't have that, it's like, oh, this is done in a heartbeat.
Right.
It's done.
Yeah.
So.
I think one of the things I'll contribute to this aspect of the question is really in how you started in the framing of the question, really kind of talking about what feels like the inevitable, unwinnable war. In terms of really thinking about it from a system structures perspective. I mean, it's almost unfair from the jump to even think about how a group of people fight systems that are literally inherently in the infrastructure. And so I really believe it's important to kind of create the inverse of that and to really look at it like we cannot negate the power of the one-on-one connection like we're talking about, the 2-on-2 connection, the 3-on-3 connection. I think oftentimes we think about impact from a systemic perspective, from an infrastructure perspective. And that's why many of us can't celebrate our wins or get our flowers, because we are trying to evaluate the work we do through the lens of how many people we reached. That's that celebrity shit we live in. And that is false. Not celebrity ship itself, but the idea that you're only making an impact if you're having far reach of an impact. That's helpful, but you actually don't really understand what it means to take one person, one kid, one other adult or brother that you're connected with, and literally through your exchange, shift their perspective that changes the trajectory of their life and career, that then provides access and opportunity for their children and everybody in their ecosystems perspective. That's how we win, by actually starting to shift to the reality that this is a long game and it was never designed to be short. If I'm honest with you, it feels somewhat egotistical to the ancestral piece when we start to do this thing that I feel like is like, they just ain't have it right, because in this generation, we curing cancer, we fucking up these systems of racism, like we just gonna tear it all down in some way, shape, or form, when the reality of it is, the beauty of the rhythm of life is that every soul comes in the time that we're supposed to be here to do our part. It's like the passing of the baton. And in a lot of ways, if we're truly living our life thinking about the reality that one day I will be an ancestor, and how will my life and legacy and the baton that I pass help the next person move forward? Under that framework, that is a hell of a system. And if you release the idea that the fight only happens in the physical and that the ancestors are still not doing their part on the other side, then that goes beyond what any system infrastructure can really do. So I say all that to say, if we just limit it to kind of the scene, and what we see is really about what appears to be dominant or dominating, and we release the idea, kind of like Carmita said earlier about this idea of like, they got a playbook and so do we. And if we actually embrace that our playbook is to be the thing and to push this by doing whatever it is that we're called to do, and to die empty in that regard, like, I don't see a world where we don't actually win. And I actually believe we are winning.
I definitely not going to try to follow that with no quips or nothing. I also want to respect everybody's time. But I do want to make one point before we go. I try and make it a point to like do an observation of people, right? Just something I noticed, but then I also want to know why. You have 4 pens in your pocket. I need to know why. You have a pen that says connection seeker, but you also kind of come off as kind of really reserved and kind of real in the background. So I'm just wondering if that's like a stated intention, or if that's more like you really believe that about yourself and we all got it fucked up.
Yeah, I got it fucked up.
And then you got the Pharaoh piece, which in general just gives me like the way you talk and kind of the way you approach it with the patience of how you think about what you're saying. I'm just wondering, is this about like history? Is this about like, is it a personal connection to a particular part of Egyptian history? Or is it, what's the meaning behind it? So I phrased the question. I'm gonna go back. What's the 4 pens about, bro?
Yeah, so
who could possibly need 4 pens at one time?
Yeah, no, fair.
Call them out.
Fair question. Okay, there are like 2 responses to this. So I'll give you the obvious answer. You know, hi, my name is Dr. Du, and I really like nice pens.
Okay.
And so I recognized early on when I started writing with one of the Surge pens, wow,
These
this
are
is
really
good.
nice.
So I've been consistently
just openly stealing.
not stealing, liberating. I'm giving it a great home. Okay, so that's good. But I think another piece that goes a little bit deeper for me is I came into 2025 really in acceptance of being an intuitive, what most people would refer to as a psychic, a medium, whatever the case may be. And it was really a difficult journey to come to acceptance, because I kept feeling like, I don't know why this idea of like, but I'm from 95th Street. How am I like the call me now person? But, you know, a part of this has meant for me, like, I just feel and have messages for people all the time. Most times I don't even know them. And so what has happened in the aftermath of us coming from Sedona yesterday is I have just felt compelled to like write note cards of messages that I sense that I need to give to people, but I don't know who they are until I'm actually in their presence at some point. So it's been a really different and new exercise for me that I'm leading into. So yeah, I need to have hands for that.
First of all, that's why I asked this question. I knew there was an answer. I just never would have imagined that was it.
Absolutely.
That's dope, man.
You just hoarding pens. Don't let them.
So how we got this messed up, man? I explain this.
Oh, brother, I love people.
Word.
Like I'll talk to anyone for
2 days.
Whoa, I'm feeling attacked right now. Yeah, I enjoy people, so I might come off as reserved, but once I get to talking, I'm going to.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I like to connect with people, brother. We're going to talk at some point tonight, so just forewarn you now. But yeah, no, I enjoy people. I enjoy connecting. I think I feel at home and comfort in spaces like this because there's so many people that I can just dive into because I'm just interested in what make people work. So I'll find some commonality and we can start with what you do for work and we'll end like with what your passions are or what's your goals and how we can help each other move forward. I'm a baker, right? You might like to bake. And so I might, oh man, here's a recipe for you, right?
So bake. Nothing against it. I just have no skill sets in that arena.
You can't say that. Have you tried it?
Okay, I shouldn't say that. I do have some skills. I just don't have the passion or desire to be better at it.
Well,
but because somebody out you will do it, and so I'll just pay you to do it.
I mean that's fair. And I welcome that. So let me know when you want a cake.
Word.
It's good too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I like talking so much. I charge people to make them pay me to talk to them. So I feel you.
I'm gonna start doing that because I'm giving away for free right now, and so
discernment.
Yeah.
give me the Pharaoh piece, man. What's the knowledge behind that?
I was introduced to the Sphinx by my fraternity, but it's become more than that. Like it's become a symbol of my blackness. I wear this almost every day. It don't matter if I got like some dress clothes on or anything. Like it don't matter if I'm in a professional setting. I go to board meetings with this on. If I'm sitting in front of a bunch of white folk, I'm wearing it, and they're like, "Oh, I like this."
Start touching it.
Exactly.
Unapologetically you.
Seriously, no, yeah. Because at one point I thought I had the code switch, and I thought I had to, be this symbol of excellence without realizing that my blackness is excellent. And so, yeah, I wear it, and I'm proud of it, and it's a good talking point, right? It's a good talking point. People see that, and they're like, "Oh, he care about his people."
Yeah, particularly from your position, walking down the hallway as a principal, rocking that. I'm sure a couple of kids is like they start off with the jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, how they hit with your head ass at the end of everything.
Right.
You literally got a head ass.
Right. Exactly right.
Walking around with the head on your head ass.
That's hilarious, bro. Yeah.
As Joe would say, you got to relax.
You got to relax.
Hey, man, I really appreciate y'all pulling up, man. I got to get my brother Derek in here before we run out of time, man. But so here's what happens next. I send you the recording, but I'm also intentionally going to listen back through with some potential like follow-up questions. So things that we talked about, things that we may potentially want to come back together and continue to discuss.
Cool.
So, man, can't thank y'all enough for
this has been dope. This has been dope.
Thank you.
I feel like we need our own setup.
I know.
I got you, bro. Trust me. Again, people pay me for this.
Yeah, let's stay in community because ideas are coming. And I also, while we're recording, want to just say thank you to Boley and Joe. I typically am the person that will like just have these ideas. And, sometimes I give notice, sometimes
without
I don't.
warning.
Right.
I legit thought y'all walked in with like knowing what he was on.
97% of the time is without warning.
Yeah, I'm trying to do as best as I can to improve, but I think this is just me, so I don't know if I'm gonna really do that. But it has turned out so well, and I love just hearing us. It was so much. Yeah, this was like definitely going to be one of the highlights of the whole trip. So thank you so much for offering to even allow this to happen.
I really appreciate that, man. No doubt.
It's a piece of trust, though, bro. Before we get off of this, like I think that speaks to the brotherhood and our belief in you that you will put something forward, and it's like, oh, okay, whatever. We'll figure it out once we get there, right? And so, although we give you shit about it, but that's
the fun of being a brother. I get to give you shit.
It's a piece of trust that we know that you're not going to put us in a situation where we have to be at a deficit because one, you don't operate in that and you don't like using that word. So yeah, I think that's part of the trust factor of it as well too. Like, oh, Dujuan's not gonna put us in something that's stupid or crazy.
That's super
ish.
dope. That's super dope.
Yeah.
All right,
Thanks
fellas.
so much,
Thanks,
bro.
man. Appreciate
it.
Shout out to my brothers, Dr. Du, Mike, and Joe, for pulling up and just being willing to have a candid conversation, true, authentic to ourselves. Really can't thank you all enough. Had a great time chopping it up. Stay tuned for episode 3. Derek Fleming, another Chicago alum, he and I actually have a one-on-one conversation, and we really get to talk more about like what it means to show up for real in community work. Everybody kind of wants to do community work or says that, but what does it really look like, and what do you really need to bring to the table? I am Makinde Adedapo, Shot 25, DNA, signing off. Until next time.